Here's the thing. This is a brand new industry. And so with anything that's brand new, there's going to be a lot of misinformation. Now, with something like this that's brand new, you're talking about drugs, you're talking about the sex of drugs and the appeal of the Mexican cartels and all the other crazy, stories and questions that you hear. There's even more misinformation. I've gotten the Mexican drug cartel question now twice in 24 hours by very credible people. So I guess, I'm fortunate to be invited to come speak to you guys today. And I'll try to debunk some of the myths. I'll try to cut through it all and just give you guys a real perspective of what this looks like. Because it's pretty clear-cut as to what it looks like. I can tell you right now with 95% certainty what the program in Florida will look like when Amendment 2 passes, who will be playing, who will get a license, if you even have a chance of getting a license, or if you're wasting your time here and you might as well, I don't know, it's 98 degrees. What do you guys do when it's 98 degrees and 90% humidity? You might as well be inside somewhere else, I guess. So let's start with this. Most certainly, Florida and Amendment 2 will end up being a merit-based process. Okay, so for the purpose of this conversation and the purpose of apples to apples, we're going to talk about merit-based applications. We're not going to talk about Arizona. We're not going to talk about California. We're definitely not going to talk about Colorado. Issue number one as people look to get into this business, I don't care if you're an investor, I don't care if you're a patient looking for more information, I don't care if you think that you're going to apply for a license. Issue number one is you're comparing yourself to the wrong state. You're comparing your process to the wrong process. What's happened in this country since 1996, which is when California passed medical marijuana, is that each state has learned. Each state has gotten better. Each state has also gotten faster. When I got into this business, coming from Los Angeles, there were only a couple states that had medical marijuana. California, Colorado, Washington, that was it. And then you see state by state pass it, and then this state takes 2 years, this state takes 18 years. I mean, we're now at a point in Florida where if Amendment 2 passes, in 6 months they have to have the regs done, and in 9 months they have to be licensing people. That's insane. We've never seen that before. So there's an evolution that's taken place. And so what's really important for everybody here, regardless of where you're coming at this from, is to understand the evolution, understand where we are today, and then based on where we are today, you can make intelligent decisions of how to spend your time. But don't be distracted. Every time I talk, one of my big things is don't be distracted. Don't be distracted with all the people that are going to have a conversation with you about their brother-in-law who does this in Arizona. Because guess what? You don't care about Arizona. Arizona had a lottery system that's failed miserably, and there's nothing you can learn from Arizona. All you can do is get distracted. How many people have taken a trip to Arizona? How many people have taken a trip to California? Regarding this specific business, not just a Disneyland trip. Okay, how many people have taken a trip to Colorado? Okay, guess what? It's great. You guys have all been in a marijuana dispensary. There's nothing you could have learned there that can help you in the process that you're going to go through over the next 12 months. In fact, all you could have done is gotten distracted. Now, I want to see what it is to run a dispensary. It's a retail store. There's nothing to learn. Figure that out once you get a license. Right now, you guys are in a process where, for those of you that want to be proprietors, whether it's production or dispensing or cultivation, this business for you right now is the licensing business. So don't be distracted. How many people met with people that said they could help you when you were in Colorado, California, or Arizona? Anybody yet? A couple people? Those people can't help you. How can they help you? They work in Colorado or they work in Arizona. Arizona, you know what you had to do? You had to pay $5,000 and put your name in a hat and have a building that's zoned out, and they picked your name. It wasn't in a hat, it was a little ping pong ball. Anybody that helped somebody there get licensed, they have no way of helping you. You need to look at Massachusetts, Nevada, and Illinois. Massachusetts was the first state to say, I'm being recorded, huh? That's okay. Massachusetts was the first state to say, whoa, look, Arizona fucked this thing up. Let's figure out how to do it better. And so they said, we'll do merit-based instead of this lottery system where any Joe Schmo gets a license, and then if they fail with the license in a restricted licensing state where there are very few licenses, they jeopardize the whole program. So Massachusetts tried to do it. They haven't done that well at it. Nevada said, that's a great idea. Let's learn from what Massachusetts did, but we can do it better because we're Nevada, and the truth is they can do it better, and the truth is they are Nevada, and the truth is when it comes to gaming and cash businesses, there's nobody in the country like them. So they figured out how to do it better. And Illinois said, well, that's a great idea. Let's copy Massachusetts, but let's not screw it up like them. We'll go ahead and we'll take some pieces from Nevada. And guess what Illinois did? Illinois caught up to Nevada. When I talked about speed earlier, right? Nevada passed its stuff 6 months before Illinois. In Nevada, we turned applications in last week. Illinois, we're turning applications in 3 weeks. So they caught all the way up because they got the benefit of saying, well, Nevada, did it a little better than Massachusetts. We're Illinois. We'll do it a little better than them, which they won't. And we'll accept applications September 22nd. Look at those 3 states. You guys want to learn? Go visit those 3 states. What is there to visit there? There's a lot to visit there. Well, there's no shops yet. I can't walk in and buy weed. Well, you're getting into the business of marijuana. You want to walk in and buy weed, go on a weed vacation to Denver. They have the bus that'll take you around. You can get high. You're looking to get into the business. There's people there that have done it. There's lawyers, lobbyists. There are individuals, and I'm sure you can find that were on the news, say, hey, I'd like to take you out to lunch. I know you applied. I'd love to talk to you about the process. How can I learn? That's the information that you guys want to access. That's how you don't become distracted. At the end of the day, we found that very few people make it to the finish line. Why? Well, because it's arduous, because, for my company to do a merit-based application, it takes us 500 plus man hours, and I've got 14 people full-time doing it because it costs a lot of money, because you have to demonstrate an insane amount of liquid money. No, your real estate doesn't count. Liquid money, anything that can be turned into cash within 30 days. Who here has followed Illinois? Has anybody followed Illinois? No. Yes. Well, in Illinois, if you want to grow marijuana and you want to turn in an application, you have to show $500,000 liquid. You have to be able to put up a $2 million bond or put $2 million in cash into escrow. You have to prove that you can build out your facility and operate it for a year in cash. Skipping all the Q&A stuff, I'll just tell you the answers. If you have 5 acres of raw land, and in Illinois, there are only 21 grow licenses. So the people that are going after Illinois, they don't want 5 acres. They want 20 acres because they're going to grow all the marijuana for all of southern Illinois. So they have 20 acres. Well, to build a 50,000 square foot warehouse on 20 acres as a beginning and operate that for a year without any revenue, you need to have $3 to $5 million cash. On top of the $2 million, you got to put in escrow because guess what? Nobody's giving you a bond to grow weed. Okay, so you got $2 million that you got to put up for escrow. You got to show $3 million more because you got to build the place out and operate it for a year. You're already at $5 million. So some people say, well, I've got 500 grand. The state's saying I need 500,000 liquid to apply. No. You need 500,000 liquid, so they'll take your $5,000 application fee and they'll accept your application and then they'll throw it in the trash, right? Because you're going to score a 0 and you don't have the wherewithal to operate this thing. So you need $5 million. So out of the people here that think that they're going to go ahead and get a license to grow weed, you don't have to raise your hands. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable, but how many of you have $5 million in cash? And if you laugh at that, and it's a laughable thing, then again, it's great that you're here because I don't want you wasting the next year of your life running around telling friends and family you're getting into this business. Right? And you certainly don't want to waste your time at the Cuban Club in Tampa in the middle of the day listening to blowhards talk about pot. Unless you're curious and you just want to and you want to be part of the process and there's lunch. But, these are the kind of things you need to understand, and the way you understand it is look at Massachusetts, Nevada, and Illinois. Massachusetts, the first merit-based state, 183 total applicants. There's going to be 5,000 applicants in Florida. When I started off in Vegas, I talked to a room like this, or 1,000 people. It wasn't a room like this, a convention hall, 1,000 people. How many people want to get in this business? Oh, I'm going to get in the business. Oh, I'm in Vegas. This is the statewide. If all 1,000 of you try to get in, and all 1,000 of people in Reno, and all 1,000 people in Henderson, 5,000 people are going to apply? No. Massachusetts, 183 people. 183 applications. Many people applied multiple times. For 11 spots. Sorry. Yes, sir? The way Massachusetts did it was they have vertically integrated and closed programs. So there were 35 total MMEs, as they call them, medical marijuana establishments, and you grow and sell on the premises. There were 35 spots. As of today, they've only given out 11 licenses for the whole state. So this was the first state. They were figuring it out. They said, we're going to be merit-based. We're going to make this really tough. We're going to cull the herd. 283-page applications. We were doing these applications in my office. It would take us like 3-4 weeks. At the time, I think I had a staff of like 5. So Massachusetts, they screwed up. Not because of their fault. They screwed up because they had nobody to base it off of. They said, hey, we're going to be better than a lottery. We're gonna cull the herd. We're gonna make this more arduous, and we're gonna only find cream of the crop people to give one of 35 licenses to. I don't know if you guys have seen all this stuff, but it was a nightmare. They issued 20 licenses. 9 of them had to give their licenses back because of lawsuits. They committed fraud, perjury. There was a state senator that got the maximum, which was 3, and he didn't deserve any. He had to give them all back. He also was the person that hired the person that made the final decisions. It was kind of a problem. But, these are all headlines from the USA Today and the New York Times, and I'm not talking about the Revere Journal. I'm talking about national news because we're in the pot game. I mean, there's 50 people here, and there were news trucks outside when I walked in. What other business event on a Friday afternoon has 50 people show up and has, as many media members as people? This is a sexy industry. Something bad goes on, the New York Times wants to write about it. So what happens? So you go to Nevada, they say we can do it better, which they will. This is going to take a little bit longer. 437 applicants in the state of Nevada. Now, 35 opportunities in Massachusetts for those 100 and some odd applications. My best guess, they haven't come out definitively, but my best guess is there'll be about 250 business licenses issued in the state of Nevada. So we're still talking 2 to 1. Pretty good. I'm telling you, I sat in Vegas and I talked to rooms like this of 1,000 people that were all going to apply. This isn't 437 people. This is 437 applicants. I personally applied for 16 licenses in the state of Nevada. This 437 applications might represent, 300 groups, something like that, for 250 licenses. Well, I already kind of gave that away. Skip it. So they said, we got to be more arduous. We're Nevada. We know how to regulate gaming. We're going to make it tougher. We're going to pay more money to people like Adam. When we turned in our applications to the state, my applications, because I have my hand in the cookie jar everywhere. Some people don't like that, and that's fine. But I turn in my own applications, and I do consulting, and we turn other people's applications in. My applications for my 16 licenses, we had to rent a U-Haul truck. This isn't a joke. We had to rent a U-Haul truck, and we had to truck them up because I had 176 binders, 1,700 pages a binder that I had to turn in to Carson City just for my applications. Now we went from maybe 400 man-hours, 500 man-hours. Some of these things now might be up to 700, 800 man-hours. And you're not talking about some, kid in college that for $50 an hour is working on this stuff. You're talking about lawyers, lobbyists, grant writers, $400 an hour, $300 an hour, $500 an hour people doing this. So, the cost to get into this business, just the bar got raised. Now, truth be told, that the people that are really going to get into this business, they don't care. Because this business is not for the everyday person, right? I just told you need $5 million in cash just to qualify. So, the people that have the bankrolls to do this, they don't care if they have to pay $100,000 or $200,000 to turn their application in. Obviously, they get a license. It's going to be well worth it. So Nevada said, we'll do it better. They have done it better. 1,700-page applications. That's at the state level. The city of Las Vegas, I turned an application and it was 4,000 pages. Now, there's still some issues. Hey, I'm bribing this commissioner, that kind of stuff. But it'll fly. They learned. They did better. They're not going to give people licenses back. They're not going to only issue 11 for the whole state. They'll all be issued. They will be making money in Nevada in short order. So Illinois, now Nevada's going to give out 200, 250 business licenses. Illinois is only going to give out 81 for the whole state. And, we think based on our market research and where we're at, they'll take about 300 applicants. I already gave that one away. Now, they came out with their applications, their draft applications 2 Fridays ago. I suggest every single person looks at that, and then you can throw up. They make Nevada's application look silly. Nevada's application was a couple thousand pages. This might be a 10,000-page application. The stuff they're asking for is, I've never seen, whoever came up with it was just playing a game to see how hard they could make this on people. What is your plan for, not only cultivating marijuana, what's your plan for doing research on the marijuana you're cultivating? They're doing that because they feel an obligation to cover themselves and say that we issue these licenses to the very most qualified people, and they demonstrated working knowledge through this application that gave us that information, first and foremost. And then secondarily, I think that it culls the herd, and it makes less work for them. And if they keep jacking up the fees, the application fees, they can afford to do it. So, in Nevada, it was only $5,000 to turn in a retail application. It's a hell of a lot more in the state of Illinois. So if they jack up the application fees, they can take less people. The state of Nevada had to hire an entire team just to grade these apps. There's nobody at the Department of Health in Florida right now qualified to grade these applications. They don't have it. Right. So they're going to have to hire it. It's going to cost them money. And and then it's up to somebody that's not qualified reviewing your materials and giving you a score of 1 to 10. And if you get a 10, you're in a business that might be worth tens of millions. And if you get a 1, you just burn through $250,000 and you can say bye-bye to it. Gone. So here's Florida. Now, in my estimation, worth whatever it's worth, Florida will be the 3rd largest marijuana market in the country, behind California and Nevada. There's a reason that Jonas, the good-looking Swedish guy right there, and myself are spending Friday with you in Tampa as opposed to home with our families. California has, the largest base of potential customers in the country, undoubtedly. And with 44 million people visiting Las Vegas every year, Nevada will be every bit as big, if not bigger, than California. Florida will be next. Why? Because of your population and because of the demographic of your population. Medical marijuana services seniors more than it services any other community. You guys happen to have a few seniors here, and you happen to have a pretty damn large state. So we think this will be the 3rd largest marijuana market in the country. What will Florida look like? It will certainly be merit-based. Florida's not going to go back to what Arizona did 4 states ago and say we're going to screw it up better. They will take what Nevada and Illinois have done and they'll try to do their own version of it. The fees will undoubtedly be higher. The page numbers on there will be higher. The total applicants won't be higher. You won't see 1,000 applications in the state of Florida. Won't happen. Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, the Charlotte's Web bill, I think, is an anomaly in and of itself. I don't think that, for me at least, counts. One, it wasn't a ballot initiative, so it was put together a little differently. Two, they're still asking for a full merit-based application to qualify you to be put into the lottery. When I say lottery, Arizona's lottery was your name in a hat, $5,000. This might be a 2,000-page application that gets then turned in. And when you talk about only 5 nurseries, that are going to get it, and the qualifying nurseries are so limited, they can get away with this junk. When it comes to a widespread Amendment 2 that is going to give access to medical marijuana to anybody that needs it, they're not going to get away with a lottery. Won't happen. It's all of that. Business plan, last 5 years of taxes, contribution to the state, bank accounts, it's narrative on the team. Who is the team? Who's doing it? Security plans, building plans, cultivation plans if it's cultivation, retail plans if it's retail, diversion plans. How are you going to prevent diversion prevention? Like I said, in Illinois now they're asking for research plans. How are you going to do research to better benefit the community? Community outreach plans, plans on plans. So again, don't be distracted. Know what research you should be doing. This is all you should care about. I'm saying don't waste your time. Yeah, this isn't. Look, if you, let's say you want to get into the business of brewing. I saw the previous speaker talked about beer. I don't know. I wasn't here for it, but I saw a slide. If we were here saying we all want to be brewmasters, we all want to go, we're going to compete with Budweiser and Miller and Coors. Would you show up and have the conversations that we hear people having? I got $50,000. We're committed. We're doing this. I mean, you'd think that you're crazy. Your friends would say you're nuts. But for some reason, those conversations are taking place in marijuana. I don't know why people think it's any different. Sure. So they're going to ask you what your plan is to cultivate marijuana, and they're going to read it, and they're going to judge it based on you hitting some key points that they want to see hit, and the person reading it's never grown marijuana on any kind of scale before, if at all. You said it, not me. Well, one I'm getting it from the states that have gone before. So I'm just telling. So in the state of Florida, Amendment 2 is extremely vague, and Amendment 2 leaves it up to the Department of Health to then come up with the regs and then come up with the application itself thereafter. I am making a leap, and I'm showing you what the only 3 merit-based states have done previous to this, and I'm telling you that in my very strong opinion that I would put all the money I have on the world on, that they will then emulate and take what they think are the best pieces of these 3 preceding states. So when they do that, the capital requirements in those 3 states were, as I discussed earlier. Amendment 2 is written extremely vague right now, giving all the power to the Department of Health, and there's a legislative piece in there as well. But as far as forming the regulations and coming up with the draft, correct. The Department of Justice is fine with this going on. States. I don't know if we have any lawyers talking today, but every lawyer that talks about marijuana, the first thing they do when they walk up here is go, "I'm a lawyer, and this is federally illegal." That's how every lawyer starts their speech, which is great. The Department of Justice has been very clear. Every single person here needs to read the DOJ memos, the Cole memo, the Department of Treasury memo. You guys should be intimately familiar with all of those. They are going to respect states' rights so long as you operate within the confines of those state regs. So you want to go ahead and be a rogue marijuana grower or retailer, you're probably going to jail. Amendment 2 lists all of the medical marijuana establishments under that amendment, and they don't specify how it's going to be implemented. Again, that's going to be up to the Department of Health, so I don't know. Massachusetts, they're all under one roof. Nevada, they're separate licenses, and there's 4 licenses in Nevada. Illinois, there's separate licenses, and there's 2 licenses in Illinois. So I don't know what would happen. I wouldn't predict. It could go anyway. Correct. There's 4 applications. Correct. They have marijuana-infused products, cultivation. So they have cultivation, production, retail, and testing. 4 different licenses in Nevada. That number I threw up on the board earlier was the combined number of all 4 of those licenses. Yeah. Amendment 2, it's very strict. The effective date would be January 1. 6 months from then, they have to have the rules, regs, and applications done. And 9 months from then, they'll have to actually license those applicants. So September, you're talking about getting a license. You're talking about June, July, having to actually turn your application in. Well, like I said earlier, Illinois gained 6 months on Nevada. It's hard. Again, I'm bad with time. It's all very blur for me. But, those states, Illinois was last summer. So Illinois took 13 months from the time it was passed until the time that they accepted applications. And, if this moves the way that Amendment 2 is written, this will take I don't know, around a year as well, maybe a few months less. From an applicant's standpoint, the mentality of, but I know there's not that much that can happen until it passes, those people never turn in an application, ever. Because what happens with that mentality is the bill passes and in November, and then they say, well, but we can't do anything until the effective date, because there'll be lawsuits and stuff. So the effective date's January. But now we can't do anything until they come out with the actual rules, because we don't know what the rules are or what the application looks like, and that's not going to be until June. And then they show up in June, and they've wasted an entire year of their life that they should be spending with their family on this, and it was all a mental, futile exercise of something. So the answer is, what you should be doing now is you should be making the decision of whether or not you are 100% going to turn an application in for a license. Not knowing what it means, you have to make that commitment. So what can you do now? Everybody, I assume, is going to put a team together of some sort, right? It's not the same person that has all the money, that has access to all the land, that has access to all the growing experience, that has access to all the retail experience, that has all the, the medical credentials. That's not all one person. The security credentials, that's a team of people. So if you came to me and said, Adam, I'm really interested. What do I do next? I'd say, look at yourself in the mirror. First thing you got to do is, how much at-risk capital do you need? It's a question nobody asks, nobody talks about. I said $5 million to apply, and then I was followed up in a question, which is fine, because where are you basing that off of? Nothing. I'm telling you guys my opinion based on what I've seen happen. But nobody's asking the question, well, how much money do I need? How much cash do I need that I can set on fire and I can throw to the edge of the stage and I'm never going to see again? So that's the first question you ask. Once you get the answer to that question, I would say $200,000 to $300,000 to start. If he asks me how do I come up with that number, I can't give you guys a great answer. I don't know what it's going to end up. You're going to pay fees to the state when you turn the application in. You're going to pay fees to the local municipality to get zoning approval, because you're going to have to do surveys and you're going to have to do community impact studies in order to get that letter of approval. You'll probably have to pay some local lobbyists at some point to help you get local community letters of support. You're going to have to pay for 500 to 700 hours of 500 to 700 man hours to do an actual application. And those man hours are going to be absorbed by grant writers, designers that are going to design your plan, security experts, whatever combination thereof. You're going to spend $200,000 to $300,000. I mean, that is what it is. So the question would be, how much do I need at risk? First question to yourself, and even if you don't have a team yet, am I willing to put $200,000 and $100 bills in a bag and set it on fire? If you are, great, take the next step. How much money am I going to have to demonstrate? Well, our best guess is, one cultivation, 2 cultivations, I need $5 million. 100% I got that. Okay, well, what's next? Well, now I got to jump off a diving board, jump off a bridge. That's what's next. At some point, if you want to be in this business, you have to jump off a bridge. I know he's okay with me going over, so we're just going to talk. If you guys want to go eat, go eat. When I got into this business 7 years ago, whatever it was, I ran around the country. I ran around Southern California, the epicenter of marijuana at the time in the country, and I wanted answers. I want to get into this business. All these people are making all this money, and these people don't have any business acumen. I can make all this money. And I paid lawyers and all these people this money, and nobody could give me answers. And finally, one day, I looked at my wife, and I said, I can't get a straight answer. I don't think I'm going to jail. I know there's a lot of money there. And I had to jump off a diving board. I just did. I jumped off. I'm completely out of my mind. And you gotta kind of be out of your mind to jump off a diving board, but you have to. When I got into this business, jumping off the diving board financially meant a lot less, but from a risk standpoint, it meant a lot more. For you right now, jumping off a diving board financially means a lot more, but risk-wise, it means nothing. You don't have any risk to burn this $200,000-300,000. When I put in $50,000 to start my first dispensary, it meant a lot of risk. People were going to jail in California 6 years ago when I had my first dispensary. You just got to do it. And if you're not comfortable with that, then again, go to the movies. Don't be here. So how much at-risk capital do I need? Literally, put it in an account and set it on fire. You're fine. How much am I going to need to access liquid? I've got $20 million between me and 2 of my friends that we can point to in retirement accounts, 401ks, Charles Schwab accounts, and savings accounts. Great, you got it. Do you want to be in this business? Yes, I won't live with, this is what I did 6 years ago. I can't live with myself if I don't try. And if you can say yes to all those things, then you got to be in. And being in, the first step is, whether it's a lobbyist, and there's a really good lobbyist here somewhere right there with his sunglasses on his head. Look at that. I told him I was going to give him a shout out. Whether it's Jonas, the good-looking European guy right here. You got to pay somebody a lot of money. You know, you got to fully commit. You want to sign up with Jonas, you got to pay him $100,000 up front. You want to sign up with him, I don't know, talk to him about how much he is up front. But you're not going to do this with tippy toes. You're going to say, I'm jumping off a diving board. Here's a $100,000 check. I just lit the thing on fire. Let's go. And if you can get through all of that, then you're going. You're good. Run. You're going to sprint. It's going to be nuts. You're going to start putting a team together. You're going to start looking for real estate. You're going to start lobbying local jurisdictions. I mean, I'm in LA, but I follow all the national news. Cocoa Beach says this parking lot is going to be its future dispensary. Anybody see that story? Are you out of your fucking minds? You know, who in Cocoa Beach decided that this parking lot was going to be our dispensary before Amendment 2 even passes? You know, but they decided it. So you got to go lobby Cocoa Beach if you're in Cocoa Beach and say, if that's going to be the spot, who owns the spot? I'm buying it. I want an option on it, a 12-month option. I'm going to put $25,000 up to lock up the option. That stuff starts now. So if you want to be nuts and jump off the diving board, that's what's next. Next. We're going to get to you, don't worry. Who else wants to ask a question? Yes, sir.
I don't want to seem particularly mercenary, but you must have had your ducks in a line because you're doing it. Is it financially worth it, or are you going, what the fuck did I do here?
I mean, I have an 18-month-old kid at home, and my wife is pregnant and due in November. And I live on the beach in Marina Del Rey, California, and it's 98 degrees in Tampa, Florida, and I'm here with you guys. And I'm not here with you guys because they're paying me a big speaking engagement, fee, and they couldn't pay me enough. I'm here because, we were in wherever we were, Orlando yesterday, meeting with people. We were here all day today meeting with people, and through that access and through all the credibility I have, I get to build relationships, and I'm finding partners to add to my team. Hell yeah, it's worth it. I mean, it's not even close.
Just wanted to say I appreciate your honesty and you being blunt about the significant barriers to entry that exist when it comes to direct cultivation of cannabis or opening up a dispensary. But that doesn't necessarily mean opportunities won't develop when these establishments do rise up in the state as far as accounting, security, consultation, and things of that nature. My main question is, why is Florida, if you know, why are they going after are basing this legislation off of Illinois, Massachusetts, and I forget the third state, and not states like Maine and Rhode Island?
Maine and Rhode Island have failing programs that aren't real. The reason that I'm not comparing this to them is because Amendment 2 is written in a way that if it does pass, it provides access to anybody who needs it. It's a very big distinction. You guys don't understand how big that is from an opportunity standpoint. You talk about state like even Illinois, they have a list of ailments. Nevada doesn't. Nevada will be like California, de facto recreational to start. But you talk about New Jersey and Maine and Connecticut and all these places. You have to have pre-existing relationship with your physician. It's only 8 ailments or 8, diagnoses, and it has to be proven, or your doctor has to sign something that says that, the effects of marijuana will surpass any kind of detriment that you're putting everybody on the spot. It's a lot of hoops to jump through. Amendment 2 is very vague, but it's very specific in one instance. Anybody who the doctor feels will benefit from medical cannabis. So because of that, you guys will have a robust program. And because of that, I'm comparing you to states that not only are the recent states for the merit-based side, but also have robust, real marijuana economies. Yes, ma'am.
The applications versus the population, do you feel that there'll be more applications because we have such a higher population and because we have more seniors? Second question would be the seniors that would be here, would that percentage go up? Like we normally see about 2.5% of people will be patients, but because we have a higher demographic, do you think we will have a higher percentage? So will that correlate to how many applications or dispensaries we would be allowed?
I think the applications will correlate to however many total licenses the state's going to issue. So I don't think that you'll have a higher I don't think you'll have a different ratio than we've seen in these other states. 2, 3 to 1, seems to be right there. I don't think you're going to see a 9 to 1 ratio of applicants to licenses because the opportunity is better. I think that you'll see the state, as opposed to Nevada where there's only 66 dispensaries, this state may have 160 dispensaries. But I still think you'll see 350 to 500 applications for those dispensaries, be my guess. Don't hold me to it. Okay. Hold on, we're getting back to you. Anybody else new before we go back? All right. Yes, sir. Mid-level providers? My very strong belief would be no. Keep this in mind. This is nothing to do with my talk, but it's something that gets confused a lot, is these are not prescriptions, right? Any doctor that writes a prescription for a Schedule I narcotic is no longer a doctor. These are recommendations. And that's the most they can do, is they can recommend it. So technically, I can recommend it by whispering it in your ear. So that's a distinction. But, in all the programs that we've seen laid out recently, if we're going to compare it to that, it has to be a medical doctor. Even my insane state of California, it has to be a medical doctor in good standing with the California Medical Board. That'll be zoning based. So, you'll find that depending on what happens, not only at the state level from a zoning standpoint, but then there'll be local zoning, which is why I said to this gentleman here that if you're going to go, you go. And, real estate's one of the first things. Look, this is a real estate business and this is a regulatory business. This isn't a pot business. Okay. So on the zoning side, the state may zone and say, 1,000 feet from schools, churches, places where kids congregate, et cetera. And then the local, Orange County might say, and we can't have a facility within 2,000 feet of any other facility. And so since I already gave him, because he started a year ago, we have a letter of support and he got zoning approval for his parking lot in Cocoa Beach. You found a place that zones out, it's 1,800 feet away. They won't give you the same approval. If you don't have that approval and you go to the state, you're not getting a license. Anybody else? Two more questions. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's that from a lobbying on the ground, boots on the ground effort standpoint, the local is where it's all at. I get misquoted a lot and misconstrued, my statements get misconstrued in regards to lobbyists. I have friends that are lobbyists, that's fine. I have a problem with lobbyists that tell people, I work in Jacksonville, hire me, I'm getting you a license. Like, nobody in Jacksonville is getting you a license. Somebody that lobbies, wherever we are today, I don't know what it's called, but whatever this part of town is, whoever lobbies the local zoning people here, that gets you that letter, and then by getting you, it excludes other people. That's the lobbyist you'll be paying money to. It all starts locally. The state's not going to give you a license unless you can get open where they're giving you a license. Otherwise, they're going to waste the license. So they want to see that you have that support and you have that zoning all packaged up to say, as soon as you give me a stamp, I'm getting a business license in whatever county I'm in so I can get this thing off the ground. Yeah, so earlier I said that the Charlotte's Web thing is an anomaly. It is. Not only does it not make sense to me because it's not viable from a business standpoint, but that aside, there's nothing like it ever in the country, right? We've never had anything implemented like that before. And it's the first time in the country in a restricted licensing environment where they've allowed, or in this case, they have excluded indoor grows and actually only qualified outdoor grows. In all the other instances where they're restricted licenses, they're requiring indoor growing. But look, the state of Florida is an agricultural state with a ton of outdoor grow space. Maybe this will be the first state to say, we're going to give licenses out. You can grow outside. But that would be a big leap because they will be the first state to have done that. I don't know. We have more questions. Should I tell them to just ask Jonas later? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Are you just scratching your head? Okay. You're fine. Yes, ma'am. Don't be polite. Nah. What was not polite about that? So what's the question? So this is just me personally, nothing to do with my talk here. I don't think that it ends up being part of the framework long-term in any state, because I think that, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying I don't think it happens just based on the fact that the Department of Health, or in Illinois, the Department of Agriculture, whoever it is that's overseeing the regulatory enforcement when it comes to growing pot, it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, for them to oversee it when it's in your house. And so I think it probably puts them in a really uncomfortable, if not impossible, situation when they have to cover their ass when it comes to making sure that everything's done in a compliant fashion so they can keep the program open and they are compliant based on federal, guidelines. When they say, well, Joanna Smith's growing 800 plants in her house. Well, how did you not know? Well, I didn't know, and now the news comes in because the DEA raids Joanna Smith's house, and she says, well, the law says I can do this because I'm doing it for all my friends that are patients, and so it's kind of like a California scenario. I think that's going to be, it's going to be hard for us to see that again. We see it in California. That's what goes on right now. I just don't see these new states that are coming up with these programs from scratch making that part of the program.